Well, good evening all. Hopefully you can hear me. Happy Sunday. Happy whatever day of Invictus we're on now. Day 4, is it? Yeah. It's going to be a slightly shorter stream today because we have discussed an awful lot of what has been going on this week with Star Citizen. However, that does not mean we're short on content. There has been some news from CON42 over in Germany, and it's definitely worth going through. So we'll be taking a look at that in a little while and kind of just trying to digest some of that information. Excuse me. Potentially looking a little bit at you know, some of the content itself, although we don't necessarily need to. It is a long older video, and obviously some of it no doubt will be filler. But I'm going to go and load it up just in case. So you're probably going to hear it start very quickly in the background. But let's see if we can go and find it. Just, I've opened Twitch, so God knows what's going to pop up first. But how are we all? Are we doing well? Good evening to Pilgrim, Socially Confused, Sloth, Chavez, Major Star Stuff, hello buddy, Jag, Mason, and Sebastian. Jockcop, you're in here as well. Fantastic. Not a bad group of people at all to spend a Sunday evening with. I will not, unfortunately, be partaking of the drink this evening. Basically, I'm back to work tomorrow. So I've had my week off. I now need to go and, you know, do some other things. But, you know, we'll figure it out. Sorry, I'm not going to look just for a second. Because, here we go. CIG main panel. So if we want to watch it through, we can do. It looks like it's quite a long panel. Oh, God. It's a very long panel. So it's about an hour and 23 minutes. Don't know if we're going to be on doing that much. But we'll have a look and we'll see how it starts. Because you know what these things are like, right? We had this with the Bar Citizen stuff that we saw at the end of a week and a bit ago. You know, people see something, they assume that it means something else, and so on and so forth. And it really doesn't, right? It's you know, it's people's interpretation, it's translation issues. Again, this is in German rather than in you know, Chinese, in Mandarin, but you know, still the same problems will persist, I am sure. So you could increase the playback speed. Yeah, just make them go through it like I could 100% if we do. Hello, Citizen Ninja. Well, welcome in, my friend. So I'm just going to jump across straight away before we do anything else, and let's have a look at today's Daily War Bond deal. A ship that is near and dear to my heart. The Perseus. So the Perseus is on War Bond. I can't even remember what it's up to now, but let's have a look. So it's down to 620 from 675. I don't like giving financial advice, you guys know this. However, if you wanted at that price, this is your last opportunity, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Okay, the chances are this thing will be with us at IAE, meaning that as we know, when ships go direct to flyer, or when ships are launched to flyable, they go up in price. We saw a significant price increase with the Polaris. We've seen a significant price increase with the Idris. No reason not to believe the same thing's happened with the Perseus. So, if you're sat there going, I want it at that price, likely your last opportunity. So yeah, there is that. Other than that, not a lot else to talk about really on the Invictus front. Obviously, this is the last day of kind of the RSI, Origin, and Astro, and then after that, well, let's have a look. So, coming up tomorrow, we have Mirai, Misk, and Consolidated Outland, and of course, I will be here, same time as before, 15 minutes before kickoff. I will be here to walk you through it. We can have a chat. I'll be coming home from work a little early because I'll be going in a little early, and we'll do this stuff and we'll see what's happening. Fun fact: the Phoenix is still in stock. Not much of an F5 war for that one, it seems. Interesting. I wasn't expecting for them to be around, but yes. So yeah, if you want the Phoenix, then I guess that's there too, huh? Citizen Ninja says, I got my purchase for $270 by stringing together a bunch of discount Warbond CCUs. Very nice. Yeah. Get it if you want it, not because it's at a good price. There's no such thing as a deal with ships. Yeah, £675 for dollars for a virtual spaceship is still a little bit nail-bitingly scary. But that's what it is. So that's where we are. I also think they're doing more waves of the Idris tomorrow. Well, let's have a look. Where are we with the... Do a little bit of loady-loady. What did they say? I can't remember if the schedule's on here or on the other page. I can't remember. There you go. So May 17th, which is past. So it looks like it's gone. Where did you get the information that might be doing more? Oh, issues with the Idris cells. Interesting. Okay, well, we'll go and have a look at that in a little bit if we need to. I guess the Phoenix hasn't been as in demand as everything else, considering its price in game. Still grabbed one mass Invictus, a sloth. Manny says, with the recent purchase to Nautilus and purchase to Odyssey CCUs within the past 6 months, is a good time to get a CCU to purchase for future planning. 270 is impressive. I only managed to do 330 for mine. That's for the purchase, I guess. Phoenix is supposed to be better than other connies, instead it's the same but with the PDC. And then Mace also says, excited for the Guardian MX tomorrow. Yep, if that's what we're getting. It's actually going to be interesting to have a very quick look. I wonder what, if we head home, I wonder what their funding looks like over the last little while. I bet it's quite impressive. Especially with the launch of the Idris. Let's have a look. Yeah. So obviously we don't have the funding for this week, but what we can see is what day was Monday? It was the 12th, right? Yeah. So 12th, you've got a couple of hundreds, so maybe 400, 450 there, 450,000, and then it's been a good, holy moly, it's going to be like a 10 mil week, isn't it? That's a little bit scary. They've had a post on Spectrum. You guys know how much I hate Spectrum, but let's have a look anyway. I did can, thank you, I did manage to get done. Hello Hargrim, welcome in. Let's have a look. Flight back feedback, it's not that one. Oh, something interesting that you might want to see is the waves of the naming for the Idris, just in case you have one. We'll scroll down. Those are the dates and times that that's happening. I'll just move it above my head slightly. So yeah, and the thing to remember here is that if you did a buyback, it works off the date that you bought it back, not the original pledge date, is my understanding. So yeah, naming for Idris coming soon. But let's have a look. Let's go back to maybe general and see what's certain. If anyone's got the link for that, I'd happily take that in Discord, but if not, let's have a look. Idris launch week taking place, start, blah, 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 blah. Doesn't look like it's on that one. I'm sure it'll be somewhere. Okay, so on 25th, we're getting the Drake Kraken and the Kraken Privateer, so that'll be another launch window. That one seems to be the same timings as before. Yeah, as it was before. Fine. Okie dokie. Oh, looks like I've got something linked. Let's have a look. I try not to open stuff, but it says it's you, mate. I trust you. Honestly, if this opens to a picture of a penis, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. We're aware of the checker errors that impacted some players trying to check out. We're going to add additional waves, good call, which will be posted here once confirmed. And here. Okay, well I clicked that one and there was nothing in it. So, let's see what the other one says. Sorry, that music's probably a lot louder in my head than it is in yours. Yeah, so nothing else updated yet. But it is, you know, when they add more waves, then it'll be there. Great. If I assume there's still quite a demand for the Idris then. Or maybe they're just chancing their luck. I don't know. But yeah, an interesting one. Okie dokie. What else? I had something else on this list that I was going to look at, and I've completely forgotten. But yeah, so that's that. I shall have a look in a second. I'll pop you guys back to normal chat, and we'll go from there. Let's go back here. Ta-da, because this is what you guys needed. You guys needed to see me like this rather than, you know, cool stuff. Let's turn that down slightly. Okay. So, let's have a look. I don't like the Fury in looks or role. The Guardian's way better as its role, but doesn't look any better. Manny says the MX is interesting because it loses its living quarters, so I don't know if that will affect sales. Interesting. The CON42 panels were good. Soshi, were you there, or was this you were watching? Found it amusing that the people were showing off their purchase bots, complaining that even the bots couldn't get the Idris. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem, right? Yeah. Watching them this morning. Yeah, so I've seen kind of some of that stuff and had a look. You know, not entirely sure what I think about it all. Who wants to? Does anyone interested in a quick peek of the fleet that I have at the moment, and then the absolute mess that is my page of CCUs, just because I have it up, or do we want to skip on? Entirely up to you guys. But yeah, if you want to look, it's there. Similarly, if you don't, it's fine. I'll just skip on. Skip on. Thanks, Notorious. Cheer. I appreciate that, mate. Rude. Let's compare sizes of fleets. Rude. Fleet alvals and roasts incoming. AV, you are more than welcome, sir. If you want to go and if you want to roast, I'd be more than happy. But yes. So yeah. Okay. So oh god, that's been playing for a while. Didn't want that to have happened. Let's have a look. I'm just skipping through to wherever this is. I'm pausing it, and then we'll have a look. Show us your feet. You lot scare me sometimes, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. So, in other news, just while we get some sort of consensus going, obviously, games media now have picked up the whole Blades thing. There's a lot of upset people, blah, blah, blah. You know, nothing that we didn't see coming when this first kicked off. But it has now happened, and people are very, very angry about it. So, yeah. Admittedly, a lot of the angry people don't know anything about the game, because you've only got to look at, you know, kind of, you know, some of the other comments they make to know that they don't really know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, perception is key. So, whilst the media have a field day with this entirely avoidable situation, it is what it is. Looking forward to the Perseus, but in a CCU chain for my Odyssey. Interesting. Yeah, so that's kind of where we are at the moment. I know, Star Stuff, you might find this interesting, because I know that CCUs kind of aren't your thing at the moment. Let's have a very quick look, and then we'll skip away. So yeah, this is the fleet as it stands at the moment. They're kind of separated out weirdly. Don't worry about why they are what they are, but so Medevac and Vulture, Pisces, Spirit, Retaliator, Medic, Taurus, Reclaimer, Perseus, the Intrepid, and then Sulen, Atlas, MPUV, Tractor, and Pulse. Don't ask. Basically, long story short, the ones right at the top of referrals, the big line across the middle, including the Reclaimer and the Perseus, the ones I'm likely to keep for the time being. The Intrepid is an extra game package. The Sulen, the Atlas, the Tractor, and the Pulse are not sure what I want to do with them, whether I keep them, whether I upgrade them, whether I melt them, what. So, not sure. Hello, Ray. Welcome in, my friend. So, yes. So, that's that. Sorry, guys. I'm just going to have to knock the volume down of that slightly. I know it's quiet for you. It ain't quiet for me. So, I'm going to do that, and then I'll pop it back up for you guys. There we go. So, that's that bit. The next bit that looks like an absolute mess. Okay, this is the current state of my CCUs. So what you're seeing here is I have a Freelancer to Cuddy Red to Vulture, Vulture to Taurus, Taurus to Vulcan. I have that twice. These are the ships that I'm aiming at. I like the idea of the Vulcan being small-time repair rearm refuel. Like that. I like the idea of the Apollo Medevac. I realise there's a clash with the Pisces and the Terrapin that I have. Put a pin in that, we'll come back to it later. Okay, so those are the two gameplay loops I have. I then have, because I was originally going up to a Reclaimer, down here I've got a Starfarer to Valkyrie, because the Medevac goes to the Gemini to the Valkyrie, Valkyrie to the Reclaimer. Fine. I've also got, for no good reason, a character Perseus to Polaris CCU. Because people are going, oh my god, it would be heresy to upgrade your Polaris to, or Perseus to a Polaris. I agree, that's why I've got another chain building there, just in case I want it. I'm not convinced that I do want the Polaris, however. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes. Everything else in here, the Endeavours and the Crucible, and the Hull Bs are all speculative. So what I'm hoping to do there is ride the value as it increases. The Endeavour, I'm kind of thinking I might want, which is why I have two of them. The Galaxy was just I had £5 of store credit burning on a hole in my pocket, so I spent it. And the Prowler to 600i is a nice little, you know, kind of step in any chain going up towards the Carrack and everything else. So that is the absolute mess that is my hangar and my CCU stuff at the minute. That's that. Think you're fooling us by not putting your Liberate on there, Stunner, you're banned. There you go. I'd love an Idris just so I can shrink my fleet down to like 4 slit ships. I wouldn't use it, but the clutter would be gone. I don't know where to go with that. If I melt everything, I just have 1 ship, and then my hangar's not a mess anymore. There's a twisted logic. I like it, sir, but I'm not entirely sure. I kind of like the idea of the Polaris, but with the Idris having a torpedo kit and already having Perseus, I don't know how much I would really use it. It'll be interesting seeing the kind of the power, I guess, balance is one way of putting it, as the Idrises and the Polarises kind of start to find a power balance between them, and to see how that works. At the moment, we've seen an awful lot of Polarises getting up close to Idrises and shotgunning, dumbfiring, torpedoes into the back end, destroys everything in the hangars, destroys the engines or knocks the engines off, destroys the quantum drive, just does a lot of carnage. So that can happen. Of course, that is relying on the Polaris owners waiting till the Idris isn't paying attention, all on the same mission, and then shooting, but that's that. Yeah, so this is my CCU side, this is my actual fleet. So this is what my fleet looks like over here. Anyway, enough looking at fleets and stuff. Let's look at CitizenCon. Now, before we get into this, I'm just going to pull back out to chat. I just want to talk about, here are the notes. This is going to be an interesting kind of exercise in just science and everything else, right? For science! This is going to be the interesting one. So, some notes were posted up on Reddit that people took at CON42. Okay, from this speech, from this table, panel. That's the word I'm looking for. Board, table, block, thing, panel, for fuck's sake. Okay, just, can you tell it's been a long week? I had leave this week. I was supposed to be relaxing instead of going nuts doing all this stuff. I feel like I'm losing my mind. So yeah, someone found a seat. So this is what CIG actually said. This is the panel that it was all taken from. Okay. However, here is what the here is what was reportedly said. The bottom line is this: that Jared says the June patch will be awesome. That the first glimpse and implementation of engineering and fire tech will arrive together. There's a new kind of door scanner coming, which denies entry if you're not wearing the proper loadout. So if you don't look like a Ninetales, you don't get let in. Okay? We're going to see more on that at ISC in 2 weeks' time. That I can confirm because I did watch that little snippet. CIG are working on refinery gameplay with updates to station refining coming soon. A door hacking and breaching mechanic will arrive with engineering gameplay. Fire venting via opening doors is part of engineering gameplay. Bullet penetration is being implemented for ballistics. Life support will be added later on down the line. Engineering will first come to the tech preview and not just Arena Commander. It's close to tech preview. The data apparently is ready, they're just tweaking. There's a full rebalance of items, health of components, stats, etc. incoming. FPS scanning will go to tech preview first, as will crafting. Currently, PDC's hitting party members as a bug, unsurprisingly. Ship armor is part of the first engineering gameplay features arriving. So mitigation for the Maelstrom system, i.e. it's a temporary for the Maelstrom system. It's mimicking it before it arrives, so it's using the same data. Ship death is evolving to more boarding and deactivating, i.e. soft death will be more common, and you'll need to board disabled ships to stop them from being repaired on the inside. Fires will happen exclusively in the interior of the ships. There won't be forest fires, etc. Hangar elevators. We all want it. Next patch will be cool. Manage expectations. We'll not have everything solved for that, but we will at least be able to prove that we were on the right track. Not entirely clear what that's for. We'll get there. The Atlas IKTI, the one at Wicklow's with the guns, is coming next patch, apparently. The current behaviour of torps is not what they want in the end. Right now, they're balanced for the game as it exists today, so they're not final. Okay, that is what we are being told is happening at the moment. A huge amount of information, very much centred on engineering, a little bit of crafting, a little bit of refining, so interesting stuff. We'll have to see what comes of it. Okay. My big concern so far is that I'm hearing a lot of not engineering stuff being used to pad engineering gameplay. The armor would be cool for the Perseus, even if it's fake. Jared did mimic a mech shooting, so that's all the confirmation we need. Was it a mech shooting? Are we sure? So, yeah. They say boarding is necessary to stop repairs, but surely you could still keep firing at the ship husks, should I go? Good evening. Engineering encompasses so much it makes sense to implement in stages to not brick the game. Absolutely. Let's jump across and see what was actually said. We'll do a bit of skipping to get to the right bit so we get straight into it. Like I said, I'm not watching the whole thing. This is a long old video, but let's see the gist. Let's find out how accurate that list is. Not only so we can make sure that we're giving the right information and we're getting an idea of what's going on, but also that we are, you know, seeing how accurate these things are that we see online and all that sort of stuff. All right, so let's jump across now. Ta-da! And I'm just going to pump the volume a little bit. There we go. Okay, let's see what's said. So it is German, but obviously Jared and that don't speak that, so. Can't hear it. Oh.
Whatever. So I'm actually really excited to see somebody else tackle with it. So I'm just going to kick back, put up my neat shoes, go at it, man.
Cool. So let's see what they've said.
Well, it's hard for me to begin when I have such an entertainer on stage, but I'll try my best. So first of all,
in other words, shut up, Jared.
Heard about you before. You are.
What am I?
That's what features exist in the game and that.
Send the live stream. What is your job at CIG and what do you do on a daily basis?
We can skip this bit, right? We don't need to listen to what these guys do.
We
know it.
You might remember in February of this year, we did a big 3-hour-long show with Benoit, our Chief Technology Officer, and indicated that this year was going to be different than every other year in Star Citizen's past. We were putting the new feature development kind of away, kind of onto the back burner. Not as many folks were going to be working on new features this year. We were instead going to redirect them back into older features to fix many of these long-standing bugs, whether that's fixing an elevator or reinventing an elevator or just murdering every elevator. Like this. Making things like unique item recovery so that people wouldn't be afraid to wear their cool armors and stuff. And focusing instead on bug fixes, performance, and new content. This year, we're putting out 11 major patches this year instead of the traditional 4 that we used to do in the past. So, and each one has a whole new realm of content waiting for you. The July patch is gonna be so cool, by the way. No, I'm sorry, the June patch. The July patch is okay. The June patch is really cool. That's coming up. So a lot of the questions that we can talk about today are going to be fixes to existing stuff, so mining, salvaging, medical. Torsten's the guru of engineering, so we'll take some engineering stuff. But features that aren't in the game yet, like research or exploration or base building, crafting. Those are ones we're probably going to want to. We're going to have a harder time answering because those are in lower levels of development right now, while those people are focused on closing out Squadron 42 and fixing the things in the PU.
Base building and crafting, lower levels of development.
Other than that, we're going to talk about all kinds of cool stuff. So let's do it.
Great. Thanks for clearing this up. So I guess this is a question for Jared. Even if CIG is right now prioritizing and stabilizing the service and remove bugs, we guess that you're still working on the base building possibilities.
Yeah, so when I say that things have lowered in priority, that's not to say that they've stopped. Kian is still completely dedicated to base building stuff.
Welcoem.
Torsten is working on,
not only Kian, right? So like Deck also.
Yeah, but I wasn't going to give him a list of names.
Well, but I would like to mention Deck.
Declan too, but yeah,
Deck really pushes hard, so I would consider.
Yeah. Hi, Declan. I know he's watching. He's a good guy. But yeah, development on these features are still underway. Base building, crafting, stuff like that. It's just, whereas before, in 2024, previous years, there might be 15 people or 20 people. Now it's a lower amount of people because those other folks have been redirected towards performance improvements, fixing bugs, closing out squadrons. So they're still in development. They're just not moving as fast as perhaps anybody would want them to because we have higher priorities right now, which is improving the stability of the persistent universe first, before we start reintroducing all these new features.
Stop talking, Jared. Let them ask you a question.
So, Torsten, one for you. Given all the things you're working on right now and possibly are not allowed to talk about, is there anything, literally anything, like a piece of meat that you can throw it to us to make us more hungry, something that you are allowed to say and you love to see coming in game?
So, yeah, Jared already hinted at it. So it's engineering gameplay. So I think the good news there is that we are really trying to get it out sooner than later. I've been saying that for quite some time now, I'm aware, but like the Arena Commander demo that we did was really helpful, and we really would like to, like, we mentioned it at some point that we have the tech preview channel, so we really want to utilize that, and especially from the key lessons that we learned from the Arena Commander demo that basically showed like a glimpse of the engineering gameplay or what it can be. We realized, wait, we need more feedback, we need but the gameplay also needs to be in a more advanced stage than it was when we were in the Arena Commander time frame. So now we are really pushing hard, and everyone in my team is right now, or the people that are actually supposed to work on that in my team, they are really pushing hard that we hit a certain deadline that we set ourselves, that is sooner than later. So the earliest we can actually, don't ask me when I would like to have it, because that would be
When
tomorrow.
would you like to have it?
I would like to have it out tomorrow, but that is a very, very, very optimistic wish from my side. But no, so we really want to utilize the tech preview channel there, and right now we are really doing the best we can to put it there. And what I can already say is that the gameplay or the engineering gameplay there will not be the complete engineering gameplay. It will be another snippet of it, but it will be way more advanced than what you saw in the Arena Commander. And yeah, what you will also be able to do, so it will not only be Arena Commander, but it will also be like the PU. So we will be the first time experiencing the full, or the first segment of the engineering gameplay in the PU, which I am really looking forward to get in all of your hands.
And fire.
Oh, yeah. True.
I'm excited to see fires just breaking out all throughout an Idris and whatnot. And people trying to run through and putting the fires out and stuff.
And that's actually a spoiler, isn't it?
What? The Idris is out. Everybody knows that right now, right?
No, I mean that the first release will be with fire.
No, we did like 6 shows on this thing. I've been talking about engineering for years and years. I'm waiting on you. Let's get it out there.
Yeah, well, it also will have fire and fire extinguishers, so that it will be the first time that you then can actually be a firefighter in the game.
I've literally done like 3 shows dedicated just to fire. They know about fire. You know about fire. It's cool.
I think it's...
Well, I will just go
very
down
likely
there
people start
because
stealing
you
everyone's
two
fire
are
extinguishers.
the main attraction, and I'm just disturbing the picture here.
So I saw a little bit of this before. This is just him leaving the stage. Jared will say some filler stuff that doesn't actually matter, so I'll keep it playing in the background. But there's that, right? Yeah, I can just see everyone like stealing everyone else's fire extinguishers, so they're ready to go, and people just running around with them in their hands just in case, sort of thing.
So far, especially with the production value.
But yeah.
Went back and toured with the team back there. They got some good folks back there.
So yeah, coming to the tech preview first. Engineering and fire will be synonymous. They'll be released at the same time. That's good news. Honestly, just glad the fuses actually matter in the Idris, so we have some real engineering gameplay to some extent. Yeah, I mean, you hope it's going to look a lot more like that, but yes, it indicates that things are actually moving in the right direction. They're not just saying that.
Written there, not in time, but it will be. So this next question is for Thorsten and Jared. What is the most fascinating experience that you have seen become reality for Star Citizen?
Yeah, you can start with that one, Thorsten.
I actually, like, we got some questions beforehand, right? And I was thinking hard about that one, what I actually want to talk about there. But, so, it is a niche feature, and it was my first feature that I worked on. And
fire suppression, only $9.99 with tax.
Because it opens up so many possibilities that we were hoping for. Like, we always advertise it like, yeah, once pyro comes in, like refueling weapon, very important.
Truth.
And we still strive for that. And it's such a key feature without it getting the recognition of being a key feature. And that is like something that I'm personally very proud of, because it's subjectively attached to this was the first feature that I worked on, but also it's like something that has potential. And I remember the moment when we released it, and people were stocking their Starfarers with like goods, like it was basically a merchantman but MISC. So it was. It showed the potential of the feature, and I'm really looking forward to give it a more meaningful space inside the universe that we currently have. So yeah.
I think if you asked most developers, they would say it's something smaller like that. You know, I think people expect us to say, you know, something huge and mind-bogglingly game-changing like crafting or base building or stuff like this. But it's almost always for developers, and I've been doing this for a long time, it's always smaller things like that, because it's those things that everybody else just kind of glosses over, and you think it's a smaller thing, and it ends up having the most long-standing ramifications. I'm going to cheat with my answer, and I'm going to talk about a feature that isn't in yet, and that comes in the June patch.
Oh, that's
I can.
That is very, very unfair.
No. This is one of those really small, silly ones. It's not a big thing. In in the next patch, there's a new way to open doors. So you know, we've heard the criticism of keycard citizen, like you're constantly, every event or whatever, you're always chasing keycards. Oh, I can't produce his name right now. I really wanted to give him a shout out. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name right now. But there's a new door scanner for the content that's in June that basically the door only opens if you're dressed like one of the bad guys. And so you have to kill one of the bad guys and take their outfit. You have to put the outfit on. It scans your loadout and says if you look like the bad guy, then the door opens. And just that little tiny thing, extrapolate the kind of content we can make from now on. Extrapolate the kind of spy content, infiltration stuff, the whole things where you don't have to go through and slaughter and kill everybody. Maybe the whole mission where you never fire a single shot. You have to pretend to be someone. We have to get the AI to be full too. There's more work to that. But just that little change to the doors is such a small thing, but it's going to unlock so much potential going forward. And right now, just maybe it's recency bias, very recently, considering it's not out until next month. That's what popped into my head when you asked that question. That's a feature I'm most excited about right now.
Do we want to mention that there's also another way, but instead of dressing like them?
No, let's leave something for the ISC.
Okay.
That comes out in 2 weeks. What a terrible thing. I can share something, but you can't? That's terrible. I'm a jerk.
Well, Thorsten, you were talking about refueling. My God, refueling.
We'll find out.
I want to hook in that. It's not refueling, but similar. Talking about crafting and refining materials. Could you tell us about the actual state of the Orion and the refining process, since it is such a massive ship?
So I will not talk about the Orion.
That's the weakest connection to the Orion I think I've had.
I can talk a bit about refining. So was there anything else to that question for refining, or should I just...
You're trying to backdoor a question about the Orion.
Yeah.
You really want to know about the Orion, not the refining. Yeah. No, I'll tell you, I don't want to jump in for you every time, but the reason he can't talk about the Orion is because we work on the gameplay first, and then when the gameplay is there and the gameplay is developed and it's working, then we'll spend the time building the ship. So the reality is there is no progress on the Orion right now. The Orion is sitting, waiting for resources, waiting for a time where refining gameplay has come to the point where it can support a big, giant, crazy ship like that, and then we go, okay, so that's ready.
Yeah.
Now we can work on the ship, because nobody wants a ship that doesn't do anything. You know, we've made those mistakes in the past. When the Starfarer was first put out, before refueling was done, and it doesn't do it. When the Reclaimer was put out before.
And this raises some interesting questions for us about things like the Ironclad. The Ironclad Assault is like how much is enough for it to do something. So the Ironclad Assault obviously has its own repair bay inside. Are they going to be able to put that in without knowing what that looks like because they haven't worked enough on repair gameplay yet? Does that mean we're just going to get the Ironclad when the Ironclad launches? The Assault will wait. Again, like, this is a matter of degrees. They talk about, hey, we'll wait till the gameplay's in. Well, there's lots of ships in where we've only got partial gameplay. So how much gameplay is enough? So, yeah, that's we'll see.
Salvage was. It's like you have these ships and like it doesn't do anything. So we've learned our lessons over the course of the last 13 years, and work on the Orion won't start in earnest until such time as refining gameplay comes up to the point to meet it. Maybe not the answer you wanted to hear, but
so refining.
Refining.
What questions? I can talk a little bit about that.
Well, go ahead.
So it's fun.
How do we make that fun? Maybe that's just me.
Kidding. It's very boring. No. So as you all have noticed already, now that we have the mining sacks and everything associated with it work with the freight elevator, that can lead up to you having a lot of raw materials inside your station hangars, for example, or your station inventories. And that highlighted an issue that we currently have with the way that we do the refineries on the servers. So we already are actively working on it. I was hoping that it is already... I'm a bit scared now. I was hoping that we already have it in the current patch, but it didn't make the cut. So I am quite optimistic that it might make the next cut, but we did an update, for example, to the station refineries to recognize the fact that you actually have a lot of materials now in your station inventories. So it is not the end goal that we want to reach with refineries, but it's at least mitigating or recognizing that now you all have way more materials that needs to be refining. Because someone like Red Monster sent me a screenshot of 300 hours of refining time, and we're like, yeah,
300 hours.
That's not in a normal play session achievable. So let's fix that. As you all might have, or if you all were at the CitizenCon, and we talked a lot about the ambitions that we have, or the goals that we want to achieve with crafting. And refining is a crafting process, or we treat it as a crafting process. That also means we treat it as a true profession. That means that it also, all the other rules will apply to that. And it also has to fit then in the future of materials that come, or the changes that will come with crafting. So it has to support quality of materials, it has to support the blueprints, it has to support the vehicles that we have with that, it also has to support the bases that we have, it also has to support the stations that we have. So there is a lot to come with refineries, and luckily for us we already have a plan, but as Jared already said, this year we have a different type of momentum for development of features like that, but yeah.
So basically, if you wanted to put it in kind of an order of operations, as crafting comes on.
I'm kind of pleased that they're saying that. One of the issues that I raised, when they did that 3-hour live stream and said, hey, we're focusing on stability and bug fixing and all that sort of stuff, one of the things that I said that a lot of other people said as well at the same time was, they said this in 2018 and it didn't materialize. The fact that it's getting repeated, the fact that it's, things are actually happening. We're getting a few new things. We got Flight Blades, we got Hathor, we got this sort of stuff, but it all seems to be fairly low level. And yes, the servers have been a bit weird during the free fly, but it is remarkably stable for a free fly where people are spawning Idrises as they want. I'm thinking back to the first Xeno threat test where there were significant issues just having, some bad guy controlled Idrises, and all the players. We have come on leaps and bounds since then. We are so far ahead of that now. Being able to watch a bunch of Polarises and Idris take on another Polaris is quite the achievement, especially during a free fly. So
online, you'll see more refining work. As base building comes online, you'll see more refining work and development. And then it's after crafting, after base building, as refining continue to develop beyond that, that would be the time we would kind of make an assessment. And now is refining far enough along that we can start working on something like the Orion. And that's where that kind of decision would be made.
Thank you for your answer. One more for Thorsten. Do you think that it will be possible in the future to repair the hull of your ship by yourself, like you have a storage with metal plates, a welding tool, and you fly to your hull to fix it until you reach a repair shop?
So we already have hull repair in the game. So it is the second function of salvage, right? So you basically print the hull on that, and this is what we will have for the longer future. So the idea of welding things to your ship and like having metal plates there, it's an interesting idea, but at this point we really want to focus on like delivering like rather other systems that tie in more into like different types of repair. So like component repair will also be very basic, and once we have all these bases done that you will then hopefully see with the engineering gameplay, we can decide to go more in depth. So if we at some point detect like the painting of the hull back onto your ship is not sufficient, or it's not fun enough, or we need a little bit more depth, we will investigate something like you need to buy metal plates and then weld them again to like strengthen your hull or something like that. But right now, the exact same functionality of repairing your hull is supposed to be the repair functionality of the salvage tool.
Cool. Well, as you both know, I had many more questions, but given the time...
Let's do them. No.
Yeah, well, given the time, I would like to give it to the audience and the live stream, if that's okay for you both.
Sure.
Sure.
Great. So I'll begin with the audience, and after that, I'll go to the stream.
Is the Orion mining drill going to have the same fate as the Reclaimer Claw in terms of laser citizen?
That's one of those questions that's so far out from needing to be decided. We don't have an answer for you right now. There's this. I'd like to use your question to talk about something that I think will apply to everything. So it's a good question. It's the kind of question that we get a lot.
Needed to be asked, but it was a little bit loaded.
There's this idea that happens a lot. I've been doing this here for over 10 years, and then I started in the industry back in 2004. That all the decisions that are involved in making a game are done before you start. And that's frankly, it's not true. It's not even close to true. When you make all the decisions before you begin making something, that's called construction. You've built your blueprints, you've developed your engineering, and you go out and you just follow a formula the entire time. It's not game construction, it's game development. We are constantly deciding things as we go. We hire new people. You weren't there in 2012. When did you start?
Good question. I think it's 4 years ago now.
Okay, so Torsten only joined 4 years ago. And imagine if we had every single answer figured out. Imagine if we had every single...
There's something I think he's going to say here, and if he's not, he has said it in the past. And I think it's probably my favorite thing that Jared has ever said, and maybe even will ever say, other than a release date for Squadron and a release date for 1.0, which is, we reserve the right to have a better idea. Now, as long as it is a better idea, that's the key thing. But we reserve the right to have a better idea, and this is part of what they're talking about, and this is the beauty of this development model, is that what you do is, if something comes along in another games company's design, and they don't have the time to implement it because they've got a publisher that's breathing down their neck, they've got investors breathing down their neck, they're like, hey, if we'd figured this out 18 months ago, we would do it this way and it would make the game better. However, we don't have the time, so we're just going to have to do it the way it is in front of us. With this, yes, people will call it scope creep, and people will call it, and it's not the only definition of scope creep, I know that, but this is the beauty of this, is if they find a better way of doing things, look, they can. They can have a go. And the other thing of this constant iteration, the fact that even after tier 0, or even after 1.0, they are going to still do a patch cycle, and we're just going to get to like, hey, tier 10, tier 20, tier 50 of things. They're just going to keep reiterating. So it kind of gives me hope that at some stage in the far distant future, the Reclaimer claw will once again be a claw. But the point is that it works like that for now. So we're able to do what we need to do. It could be more engaging. It could be more visually stunning. You know, it could be cooler. But at the end of the day, you're still doing what, you know, at the end of the day, it might look different when you're grabbing it and crunching it and all that sort of stuff. But it's still having the same effect. So there's going to be a lot, they can gain a lot more. They can get a lot more out of implementing new systems. Once everything's in, they can absolutely go back and revisit and go, hey, look, people really aren't using the reclaimer claw because it's not fun. Then they can go back and revisit. You know, people aren't using the spray-on kind of SRT things because it's not fun. They can go back and fix it. Right, so there's that
decision made, and Torsten comes and joins a company and wants to make a game, and he has no decisions to make. He has no inspiration to bring, no agency to provide. He just has to do what somebody figured out back in 2012. Well, that would get us some pretty boring employees. We hire people who come in with new ideas, with fresh ideas, with better ideas. So we don't spend a whole lot of time figuring out something that's not going to happen until 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now. It's not the answer a whole lot of people like to hear, but it is the truth. It's just because...
Just want to pick up on something AV said there. Changing blades rather than any ability to actually tune components seems to be indicating it's more of a plug-and-play preset thing rather than something you can do and adjust on the fly. Yeah, and the thing here is that we got to remember that tuning and blades have been talked about at the same time. So there is absolutely no reason why you won't be able to tune components. The thing here is we're talking about things like, you know, thrusters aren't really a component at the moment, whether they become one or not. So the idea of slightly more maneuverability and of a slightly higher top speed, you know, we're not talking about quantum. So the fact you've got a quantum drive as a component, the power plant as a component, the power plant might be able to tweak to get a little bit more power out of it, tune to get a little bit more power out of it at the cost of a little bit more fuel or whatever, or increase wear and tear on the component, or a combination of the above, depending on how far you push it. So yeah, again, at the minute, we're seeing systems in isolation. We're not seeing the picture as a whole. Stephen Milius, welcome in. Thank you for saying that. Most content creators do not understand this and talk shit about it. Mate, you're more than welcome. Glad you're finding it, enjoyable or informative, or both, I hope. But yeah, we'll keep having a look, and we'll get as far as we can.
If you remember, for those who's been here since 2012, who's been here since the yay old days, okay, you remember those early episodes of Wingman's Hangar. How many of the things that you heard on Wingman's Hangar actually materialized? Now, those people weren't lying to you. They were telling you the absolute truth of that moment. But we hire new people. We bring new technologies in. We have better ideas of ourselves. So whatever answer, the reason I can't answer your question right now is because whatever we think it is today may not be what it is tomorrow, or next month, or next year, and it wouldn't be fair to send you off with some piece of information that I can't be reliably confident will actually be what we do when it comes time to make the Orion. So I apologize for not being able to give you the answer to that question, but I hope the context here is actually more helpful to you and to everybody else. Maybe? Okay, maybe not. I tried.
I'm going to go to one question from the stream, and that is the real AL is asking, when will we get a maybe wireframe representation of the surroundings in landing mode, gear is down, to make proper touchdowns?
Hey, Timble.
You asked a when question?
So
You asked a when? What was that person's name?
Oh, the real AL.
Real AL. Now, people use their Twitch names for their account names oftentimes, so we're just going to see what ships that person has.
by the way, he just
melt.
opened the calculator. That is just pretentious.
I don't have roaming data. I can't. No, we can't answer when. To answer. I mean, I understand this is being streamed and whatnot, but I'm going to be real candid with you. It's the when question is the hardest question to answer in all of game development. I mean, not even Rockstar, who's making GTA 6, which is not the 6th game in the franchise, by the way. It's like the 14th game in that franchise, and it's not their 14th game, it's their 50th game over 30 years. Not even they can tell you when their thing is coming, and that's because there's one simple fact in all estimation, whether you're building a swimming pool or a house or a video game or a feature, and it's all based on prior work. It's we built this before, how long did that take? We built this before, how long did that take? We haven't made a game before, not CIG. You know, we've all done it individually for other companies and stuff, but CIG, us together, we've never done this before. So, and we're not making a game that's been made before. We're making a game that hopefully, if we're doing it right, has never been made before. So if you've never made a game before and you're building a game in which nobody else has built that kind of game before, and you're using technologies and tools that have never been used to build a game like that before, how do you answer how long something's going to take?
You are tasked to build a time machine. Not only has it never been done before, but the task to do it doesn't yet exist. Like dynamic server meshing, like static server meshing, like object container streaming, like server-side container streaming. When? Again? When's this time machine? When? Right, it's yeah, and this is why I, don't get me wrong, I get bothered by delays, but I don't get bothered by delays because of the time that it takes. I get bothered by delays because they say it's coming before it passes its final gate, and then they delay it. They're like, oh yeah, we said it was coming in, but that was like 3 weeks. This was the persistent hangers, was the most recent example of this. Because there was so much in that patch at the beginning of last year, they didn't need to bump it out. But they said it was going to come. And then they were like, yeah, maybe, oops, sorry. That. The time machine will be built when I need it by using the time machine. Time paradox is paradoxical, Avi. Absolutely. 100%.
It's really hard, and we've been really bad at it over the years. We try because we know how much you want to, and we know how much we want to be able to tell you that that'll be this and that'll be that. But the reality is we haven't been very good with that because it's just we're doing something new and we're doing something different, and that's what comes with that. So that's why we don't answer when questions anymore. We stopped because it just got too painful. We kept letting you down. We kept giving you our best answers. We kept giving you our best intentions. And then that's why he won't tell you. He knows when engineering's coming. He won't say it because what if it slips? What if something happens and we miss it by a month? That's a terrible feeling that kills us. So we stopped. That's why we stopped answering when questions. But as for the landing stone, you got that needs to.
It seems like the only thing worse than not telling us when something is coming is telling us when something is coming. And we know that, right? We know that from what we saw at the roadmap, whether we choose to admit it or acknowledge it or not. We saw that with the roadmap. They got so much backlash every single time. People whinging about it was exactly the reason they took it down. And I wasn't overly supportive of it at the time. But there is no kind of denying that long term it's seen a marked reduction in games media bitching about delays and slipped deadlines and slipped features and all that sort of stuff because they've got nothing to go on, and that will only help the game in the long run, I should imagine. He's right, this year Jared is really open about the stuff. He really is. They got roasted by certain people anytime they changed anything. Yeah, absolutely. Even when it was understandable why they did it. Or I say understandable. Who are we to say that it's not? It's their company, it's their product. But, you know, even when it was obvious to us as not game developers why something was being pushed back, people would still whinge. When isn't as important as if they tell us the priority and keep up with accurate announcements. Exactly that. Yeah. Don't, you know, it's like you don't have to tell us everything, just don't lie. Right? And if you don't know something's coming, don't tell us. Yeah, exactly that.
So if you have anything you can tell them about.
Yeah, if the question was actually like, are we aware of that we need a visual helper for making
Oh gosh.
landing gear or landing more accessible, then yes, we are aware, and there is a plan in place.
Yeah.
But that's sadly all I can say.
There is a plan in place for landing gear. Sorry, for landing gear. Yeah. Awesome.
I promise if we ever can't answer a question, I'm going to tell you why. That's I promised you forever and ever and ever. I will tell you why we can't answer.
And
So
this
I
is
hope
the
that's
honesty we've been
acceptable.
asking for, right? This is the honesty we're
I
asking for.
see you guys up there in front, but I have one question here in the back. So,
Hi, Thorsten. So you were like talking about scanning for door breaching. Will be explosives and hacking the next step to this tier 0 approach?
Yeah. So it's a mean question because I had a meeting.
This is one of those. I've got enough information that I could drop myself into a lot of trouble by saying too much. That's what that was.
Yesterday about that.
That.
Go ahead.
I won't say a word about it.
Oh, give him something.
Something.
We've had 2 questions where I've had to tell them why we can't answer.
Okay.
Something.
So let me think how I can formulate it without giving away too much.
Torsten's not going to be working for CIG.
Torsten.
So we identified that it might be very interesting to have a breaching mechanic coming with the engineering gameplay. And that's
Christ,
all I
that's
want to
Jason
say.
Door breaching with engineering, really?
I tried, everybody.
That'd be
one
really
from
cool.
the stream again. It would be very useful to give inventory boxes names. Is adding tagging boxes still planned?
I want
Tarkov
that.
boxes.
I can promise you that there's not a single person who works for CIG who doesn't want that very badly. It's when when especially it was a big point of discussion when the new personal persistent hangers came online for the first time, and you're able to actually put boxes out and leave them out. It's like, gosh, I would love to know what was inside that box. You know, it's like I stack all these boxes up. It would be great if I could label us helmets, and this one was armors, and this one was guns, and we want it so much. It's just, I would say, of every single team at CIG who is working hard and is taxed and is doing so many things, it's hard to keep up, the UI team. The UI team is one of the most taxed teams in all of CIG because they're one of the few teams who touch everything. Every single feature, every single piece of content, from a sign in a room.
UI,
it has to be displayed on UI. The mini maps, stuff like this. They are involved in anything, and that's Bone. Bone. No, nobody remembers the Citizen Gun joke. It's all right. The best I can tell you is that we all desperately, desperately, desperately want it. It's just a question of resources and priorities. It's the list of things that we want are as long as this table. And at any given time, I think I said this in the last panel, we can only work on 6 inches of this table at a time. So it's just a question of as soon as we get enough of the things that are in front of it done, that it can edge into that first 6 inches, oh gosh, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to be so happy when we can do that. And then, if it's visible to other people, the terrible messages you're going to write because of boxes. You're going to build entire barricades that just spell out entire. Like, I imagine people are going to do the entire Lord of the Rings spelled in box names.
We even had isn't it the official term TTP?
Why don't you tell them what TTP is, Torsten?
No. I don't take bad words.
You brought it up.
No. We had the TTP issue with the hull scraping at some point.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen, though.
Yeah.
If you don't know what TTP is, ask your parents.
So, hands are going up. Well, now, camera boy, you have to walk backwards.
By the way, if you see me keep checking my phone, it's because Chris Roberts is messaging me about he wants to know how many people are here today.
1,000. No, it's about 600.
About 600.
Well, I've seen this guy before. It's the motorcycle improved. He still has his gun, so better answer his question.
Hello.
Hello.
Jared, you told that maybe burning ships are coming. You think it's planned to open all doors and venting the ship? Is that possible to put out the fire? But yeah,
It's part of the engineering game.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's not part of the first bit that you will see. As you said, as I said, we really wanted to, like, the problem of the engineering gameplay, or like problem is the wrong word. The challenge of the engineering gameplay is that it's touching so many fields, and it's such a huge change to the game that we internally discussed how to cut it up in the sense of more digestible bits. And in the first bit, we will fully focus on so armor penetration, so bullets penetrating your ship, hitting the components, and the fire effects that will be caused by that. Whereas the life support be defined as its own big thing. So we really would like to have a full focus on that. So we will focus on that on a later iteration, so that we, in the first segment, can get all the feedback that we need to make the engineering, like the repair, the management of the items, the new combat scenarios that we'll encounter, so that we have a full focus on that, and then we basically open up the system. So yes, venting will be part of the engineering gameplay, but not in the first bit that you will see in the tech preview.
The venting will be, because
they're watching the
you
stream.
can control interior
So they're watching the stream. So everybody, if you would, on three, say, "Hi, Chris." 1, 2, 3.
So that it will be done using an engineering camera. That's it.
I'm trying to find a question out of the stream, but forget it.
These people spent their time here. These people spent their money. They spent their time. They drove from way over. Let them. Yeah, you go ahead. What you got?
Yeah. Because you already started talking about engineering, I know it's a pretty spicy question, but Thorsten, can you please tell us what is the state of engineering, on what you are exactly working right now?
The state is we are very close on getting it to tech preview, as already mentioned, and yeah, I would be lying if I would say it's my main focus right now, but it's one of the big pillars that right now is my main focus to get it out. So I'm cracking the whip. Did this answer your question, or was there more to it?
Thorsten's being very responsible. Let's just say that it was really close last year. You remember we were doing those ISCs, it was really close last year. And then we did this shift to what we're doing this year. And it's just gotten closer, and it's gotten closer. And
so I
didn't say that.
Like,
I wanted to.
If there's someone that wants it out fast, it's really me. And like, not only speaking for myself, but the team that is working on it. We really want to have you play it, because it is a big change to the game. It will not only come with the actual experience of the engineering gameplay, it will be a full rebalance of every item that we have, because suddenly we have to take armor penetration for bullets into account. That basically makes health of the components relevant. So there's a huge balancing path that comes with it. So it's a huge effort, it's a huge amount of work that already went into it. And it is ready, like the data side is ready. Right now, we are just like tweaking things that we already see in the internal play sessions that we want to get fixed to make it more accessible. Because if you play the Arena Commander game mode. You recognize that there is like missing like information. It was really hard for you to understand what is actually happening, and we are aware, and we are like solving the problems right now still, because like some solutions we had worked well, some didn't. So that's the reason why we have very focused internal testing on it right now, and we are like basically getting it into a state where we consider it, this is good enough to give out to you so that you can give valuable feedback. Because if we would give you a system...
So I don't know how much we need to go into the whole conversation around how the testing works and getting feedback. What I find really interesting about this conversation is that it's almost hinting at the fact that this time that we have at the moment of things like the Idris, you know, being solo crewed or whatever else, and all that sort of stuff, that sounds like this is going to be a period of time where that is true, and then it's not going to be anymore. You know, I liken back to, and this sounds a lot different, bear with me, I'm going somewhere with this, right? When I used to play Arma Milsim, so Arma 3, heavily modded, if you had 1 or 2 people go down, they would often take 2 or more players each to go through all the medicing gameplay to get them up, right? And to stop them from dying and then respawning back where they were, and then they had to get transport back out to you and all that sort of stuff. Because they couldn't just respawn near you, they respawned at base. And it sounds very much like this is what's going to happen with the big multi-crew ships, is that, you know, as you fight, you're going to be much tankier, you're going to be able to deal with a lot more, but then as you start going over that line of right now we're taking serious damage, your crew on board are going to have that same thing. And in the same way in Arma, you have someone go down, you've got to deal with it, you've now got systems falling over. And you then have to go, well, what am I doing now? Am I staying in the fight? Do I have a crew member who's doing that already? Do they need help? Where's that help coming from? Am I taking that out of a turret? Am I, you know, recalling people? Are we, you know, how am I working this? And that sounds really, really cool, because it adds a lot more nuance to big ship fights than just everyone in a turret and hold down your finger on the trigger until that ship doesn't exist anymore. Because that's what it is at the minute, right? It's a DPS race, and then if you're heavily damaged enough, you go back to station, you repair, you use the station facilities to repair, you come back out. That's it. That's all big ship combat is. It's small ship combat with a lot more guns, right? And a lot more real estate to deal with. This sounds a lot, you know, in your Gladius, if you're damaged, I mean, good luck getting out and EVAing around the ship and repairing items and, you know, patching up the hull and all that sort of stuff. Clearly, you're not going to be doing that. But the survivability and the time to kill of much bigger ships, the Polaris, the Perseus, the Idris, all of those sorts of ships give them the decision to stay and fight, run, whatever it is that they're doing. And that's going to make that gameplay much, much different. Okay, let's stand down the remote turrets. We're fighting big stuff. Get people out of the remote turrets, go and help the damage control parties, go and help the engineering parties. We've got a lot of stuff that needs repairing, yeah? We're dealing with mainly fighters. Get people out of the big turrets. You know, let's not, you know, we're not going to open the hangar bays because they'll fly in. So to launch our own fighters. So let's stand down the flight crews. They can go and assist with what's going on board. And that's going to be really, really cool. That's going to be really nice. And that's where your engineering officers, your engineers on board are going to be so important. Telling people who are not necessarily familiar with the ship where to go, what to repair, what they're looking for. That's going to be really interesting. I think there's going to be a lot to that role. As for, you know, what they're doing at the minute and the Beam Citizen stuff, we've all recognized that Beam Citizen isn't the most fun, you know, options out there. It's not great. You know, we know that. I was disappointed with the Reclaimer to see that the Claw had become a beam. It was disappointing in the engineering gameplay to see that component repair became a beam. However, at the moment, I think that is the best way to actually get some form of implementation in. What we've seen, even with basic systems like using key cards and fuses, is not everything wants to take them. Anyone who's tried to put fuses into the doors in contested zones know that some of them will not do it, right? Relying on that system for something as critical as repairing your ship. If your power plant goes down and the difference is, or, you know, the connection to it, and you need to put a relay in to get your power back up and it doesn't work, that's incredibly frustrating. Let's wait for the physical components until those systems become more reliable. Another really good example, the alignment facilities at Hathor, when you get the blades and you go to put them in, they haven't been accepting blades since about 20 minutes after the patch went live, right? If what you need to do is open a component, find the damaged circuit board, take it out and put it back, put a new one back in, if that's the way they want to go with it in the future, you can't do that now because the system does not work reliably. And there's no guarantee that it's not going to work, that it is going to work reliably with Beam Citizen and stuff. But it's just something to bear in mind that, you know, they've got to build it as it is at the moment, get it in, get it done. You'll still achieve the same things. Power plant will work or it won't, you know, that sort of stuff. But, you know, the other part is remembering how much we can and can't carry with us. You know, how else are they to, you know, to implement these sorts of things physicalized now when so many of the physical systems do not work? You know, you come to find that you've got to replace a component and you go there, great, I packed one of these, it's fine. You get to the cargo bay and it's dropped out somewhere during Quantum. Because stuff in ships don't always stay around. You know, that sort of stuff is going to be an absolute nightmare for a while. You know, the idea that when you look at the Polaris, for example, even better, let's look at the Carrack, let's look at the cargo grid on the Carrack. You need to go and repair stuff on the top deck. The only reliable place to store stuff in that entire ship of any size is to put it in the cargo grid, which is all the way down at the bottom of the ship. If every time you've got to go find a new component and a new thing to replace on that ship, you've got to go all the way down there, that's not great gameplay either. So let's let them implement those systems and let's see where it goes. Right, moving on.
Where you would basically cannot read anything or cannot understand anything that is happening. All the feedback that we would get is, we don't understand a thing, and we were like, yeah, we know. So what we are trying to do is now we basically, like, I hate this buzzword, but what we are now doing is the minimal viable product, which is basically setting the baseline so that we can make sure that the feedback that we receive from you is actually valuable to us and will bring the feature forward. So that's the reason why we actually decided even last year, no, it's not ready yet, even though we could have released it. We said, no, we need some more time to, like, just do a little bit more and a little bit more. And thankfully now we have the tech preview, because we can also start with the premise of, yeah, the UI looks like drawn by a 5-year-old, because it like just us designer did it, but we can, it is fine because it's not a proper release, so it does not have to match the art standards that we have. So you will see programmer art, you will see designer art, and it's fine because it is under the...
And this is something else interesting to connect back in. What he said there, it's fine because it doesn't have to meet the standards. This is what they were talking about with the release of 1.0, that this will stop at 1.0. 1.0 is not the end. People seem to have in their minds that 1.0 is this. This is where everything, this is the release, and this is it, and the game's done. And then, oh my God, there's a couple things that are going to come afterwards, and it's all awful. That's not what 1.0 is, right? It's nominally a release, but the game development, it won't look any different to us, except that one of the things I said at CitizenCon is that will stop happening completely. So what they're saying about it doesn't have to match the art standards, everything will. This tier 0, this isn't what we want, it's just something to get it in the game and get it working and get us moving towards that direction. That will stop. So after 1.0, when this stuff comes in, it will be much closer to the form in which they want it finally. It will have to meet the art standards. It will have to have all the accompanying UI and sound and integration elements. All the components will need to be there. They'll need to actually render in the inventory system, not just appear missing and bugs like some of the new stuff has, I've noticed during this patch. So that's quite interesting and important for us.
The umbrella of the tech preview. So it's a huge benefit for us to have that. Not only that, we can deliver features that are visually not that appealing as as the others, but we get the feedback that we need from you. And I cannot emphasize that enough. It is a huge change to the game, and we really need the feedback. And what I also want to put an emphasis on, that also means that we are willing to change some things. So what we deliver you, we don't consider it being gold, right? So it's not like, yeah, we are the smartest people on planet Earth, we know exactly what we want. No, we give you the things like on paper, on math, it all works out. But in the game, as you all know, sometimes things play out differently. And so the intent there is also to react fast, iterate fast over that. And because we are untying ourselves from the proper game, being inside the tech preview, that opens up the possibilities for us to actually do that. So I am really looking forward to get it there.
And if you don't know what the tech preview is, if you remember in December we released 4.0, but it didn't replace the live game. It went over into this kind of side version of the game. That's what we're talking about. Basically putting engineering over there so that you guys can hammer on it, you can pull it apart and still have the primary game that everybody's working to make run so much better this year over here. So one doesn't completely dismantle the other. And then when that one is baking, it's been baked enough time, then it's ready to come on over there. I do have a question, but what is worse, designer art or programmer art?
Yeah, depending what designer is working on it and what programmer. So if you have me, my art is worse than, but mine is intentionally, because if I make it specifically ugly, art jumps on my back and says, no, let me do that.
CON's designer art is beautiful. CON is one of the best designer artists ever. They're both really bad. It's just one's less than bad.
Actually, CON is pretty nice.
CON's is really good. CON could have been an artist, but...
Yeah. Well, let's close.
Well, hello. With now 2 capital ships in the game and engineering on the line, are there still plans for downtimes or timers when I swap my capital or components or weapons? Please, not in the alpha.
What timers?
Yeah, like you mean like when you stow the ship, a timer before you bring it back out again, or?
No, when you swap capital components.
Going to dry dock and switching things out. That's what they mean.
When I swap capital components, there's a timer?
Not yet, but I heard about some way back then that there was plans, because you can't swap handily components that are size 3. No, size 2 components you can change, but when capitals was announced and discussed, there was the plans that the capitals have to go to shipyard.
This is because capital components would need to be swapped in dry dock, and that would incur time cost.
Rebuild the interior parts for other components.
There's no plan for that. So the churn that you have is actually like the benefit you have if you have a size 1, size 2 component, you can change them on the field, and I think it is tedious. It is effort enough if you have to bring your ship back into your hangar and then exchange it there. So there is no intent of adding a timer there.
Now that said, we might hire someone next month who comes in with a new idea, and if it's a great idea and it changes all of our minds and stuff like this, that is what game development is. So I want to caution you. This is the lessons that I hope that I've been teaching for 10 years now and whatnot. It's like when we're up here, or we're on ISC, or we're on SCL, or we're on stage at CitizenCon, we're speaking the truth of the moment. We're always telling you the truth as we understand it, as we know it, as we believe it today. But we always, as I said it in the last panel, we always love to make room for the better idea. I
think what they were talking about here was that the idea was that capital ship components were so big they wouldn't necessarily be able to be changed by people. They would need some time in dry dock where basically you get contractors on to change things over, that's then going to a time period, which I guess basically what they're talking about there is that what it seems to become is that would be boring if you've got to take your ship back. I mean, maybe you've still got to get something like an Atlas to do it. Maybe those sorts of components need to be switched out externally, so you still need to go to somewhere where you can get hold of a capital size component from something, and then that sort of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's a figure you've just pulled out of the air, Ken. When they've said repeatedly that 1.0, the feature list under 1.0 isn't all coming at 1.0. It's the features they want in by 1.0. 1.0 seems to be becoming, for some players, this mythical, the game is going to be in one thing and then 1.0 is hit and it's suddenly going to be something else. It's not. 1.0 is going to be another patch, right? And it's going to be the same sort of difference that we've seen, even if we talk about Pyro or 323 when we had that huge impact. It's still going to be an incremental from one patch to the other. The idea that suddenly it's going to transform everything, that's not what it's going to be. What it will be is it will transform the development, because the features we will get consistently after 1.0, I hope, will be of a much higher standard. So there's that.
Does not sound like a better idea to me. So that one might not be something you have to worry about, but it's always remember that whatever you hear today, whatever you hear on ISC, SCL, CitizenCon, anywhere else, that's the truth of that moment. It's the best information that we have to give you at that moment, but we always reserve the right to have the better idea, to think better of something, to throw it out, to test it, and have you guys tell us, well, no, maybe you should do it that way. And we go, oh, well, maybe we should. Maybe we should. And,
I think that's it, AV. If it's a few seconds in the hangar, that would seem a little weird. Yeah. If it's an hour or two, that just seems punitive.
Who's next?
So, yeah. Ready? Okay, yeah. I have a question where you already teased at some point you already teased at some point that there are some FPS scanning things. We saw also a lot of that a bit in the CitizenCon, I imagine. I think you already did the first thing with the Hathor helmet coming in, doing some FPS improvement. When there will be more about that, I'm really eager to see when we have more in the FPS.
Hathor scanning was a bug. It's the Antium set. It's the one with like the crosshairs on the front of the helmet. Apparently that being able to FPS scan was a bug, which is fun. But hopefully they haven't patched it out yet.
realms, especially in the PvP.
So I'm going to let Torsten answer this. There was a question in the last panel about whether a feature, you ever put a feature out and then there's a bug and people think the bug is the feature and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of them. Interestingly, it's the same as engineering gameplay, because it adds also it will change up the entire way that the FPS combat works. So we decided that it would be a non-ideal decision to give it unfiltered into the PU. So as well as engineering gameplay, this is something that we plan to release with a tech preview, so that we can gather feedback and fine-tune it. So
FPS scanning, you're talking about?
FPS scanning, yes. So that we fine-tune it so it doesn't break the game, right? Because it can be, if it's wrongly tweaked, be a too powerful tool, and if it is badly tweaked in the other way, it might be so useless that no one will ever use it. So for that reason, we decided this feature is also one of the things that we want to get into tech preview.
FPS scanning, engineering are both tech preview things. Whatever the first version of crafting comes, that'll almost certainly be a tech preview thing there before it goes in the PU. Those are the next three that I'm aware of. There might be one I'm not aware of, but as far as the top three priorities for tech preview, it's FPS scanning.
We really want to utilize I'm keeping repeating myself, but we really want to utilize
we don't need to know any more about tech preview. I feel
more
like
information on that, but from my understanding of that's just a bug. It's not supposed to work that way. We've got the new PDC, we got the PDCs that we've had, and 411 we just added brand new missile PDSs with the Idris T kit and whatnot. Those are things that are going to, as we continue to develop those automated defenses, those are something that we're probably going to be bug fixing and balancing for a long time, because who here has run into a solo piloted Polaris that just comes with its PDCs just destroying everything? Anybody? Yeah. So that's not what they're intended to do. They're meant to be primarily a defensive tactic. And if somebody can just pilot the ship and just have it shooting all around like the Rocinante, it's really cool. But it's not great for everybody else and whatnot. So there's a lot of balancing. There's a lot of bug fixing still to do with PDCs.
Which is interesting, because if you look at the the summary that come out of Star Citizen, what was supposedly said in the drinks after the main panel was that PDCs would continue to fire at ships. So either CIG aren't talking to each other, or something's been lost in translation, and that was PDCs, they're not going to, however the bug's going to persist, so expect them to be doing that for the foreseeable future, but it's not what we want, has somehow morphed into PDCs are going to keep firing at ships. Again, this is why, I'm very dubious of stuff that you hear until something official on it has come.
And it is one of those higher priorities. In the list of tables, it's closer to that 6 inches than something like the Orion is.
Might be worth mentioning that if we say bug fixing, that is not something that can be done within like 4 hours, 8 hours. Like especially like the PDC one. It's a very complex system, and by figuring out what actually makes them shoot your party members, it means that the changes or the fix has to go more in depth. That can then be its own feature that is under the umbrella of a bug fix, but it will take up some more time than you would normally think, right? It is not a simple text change.
It's also possible your party member said something behind your back and only the PDC knows. It might not be a bug. The PDC might just be looking out for you. Have you considered that? Chris, I hope to God you stopped watching.
Well, this one was crawling from the back to me here.
Hi. I had a question about what is with ship armor?
Say, what is ship armor?
Yeah, more like, what is the state of it, or because at the moment we have only shields.
Yeah, so ship armor will be the big thing that will be introduced with the first releasable of the engineering gameplay. So, but.
No, he said it. You can't take it back. No, you can't take it back. You said it.
But. It is a mitigation as of now for the Maelstrom system that is supposed to come, right? We always, did we talk about Maelstrom this last CitizenCon? Yeah, so we talked about Maelstrom plenty of times already, and I assume that most of you are already aware of what Maelstrom is. So physicalized material, different material properties, they are more sturdy, they are more tough, whatever.
Good to see you,
so a ship is made out of a material, and depending on the material it is made of, it has higher toughness, so bullets have more trouble to penetrate the hull. The armor system that we will introducing with the engineering gameplay is basically mimicking exactly the same gameplay, but being data-driven. So it is a data setup that we do for all the ships then, that mimics the behavior that we want to see with Maelstrom. So it is, I want to say it's a pretentious way of armor, but it's technically, it shows the functionality. So you as the player, or we as the player, we will also already experience the intended gameplay there. So that also opens up for us the possibility to iterate over it, so that when Maelstrom comes in, we are already at a better starting point than what we would be. So there is a new item that will be not player editable, so you cannot change the armor of your ship, but the armor itself will have a health value or will have a value, and depending on the value, it mimics the integrity of the armor. So that means that if the health of your armor drops, it will be easier to penetrate with the bullet. So there is a benefit of you damaging a ship before you start to aim for the components, because it is actually easier than to hit the components. I hope that was answering the question.
And some of those values are already being factored into ships, like they're already being set up for this, so that when this comes online, they don't have to go through and re-edit, 200 some odd ships. Like when you look at the differences between the Idris M and the Idris P, obviously there's the missile launcher that the M has, and the P has the extra turret. But under the hood, the M also has additional armor that the P doesn't, and stuff like that. And that's all been set up so that when this stuff comes online, you'll start to see those changes reflected in those ships. And your ships, and all of your ships, should start feeling a bit different. That's what he means by engineering's a big...
Yeah, maybe also, because maybe that's also not clear. The way that ships will die will also dramatically change with engineering gameplay. So right now, every ship has its health pool. Once it reaches a critical value, it will explode. So this will not be the case anymore, especially for player-driven ships. So if you're in a player-driven scenario, it will be more likely that you disable the other ship rather than having it explode. There will be still situations where you can make the other ship explode, but it's what we want to see more is the deactivating and boarding actions there, as already hinted at.
Interesting. I wasn't sure how accurate that was going to be when they said that. That changes a lot. If they basically go into a soft death state, and then you need to expend some serious ordnance, and by ordnance I don't mean just amount, I mean size of missile or torpedo, to make them then blow up. Something that's already no longer a threat to you. That's really, really interesting in terms of what that means for not just PvP, but PvE as well. It means less people abandoning their ships. It then really does start making sense for multi-crew. The fact you lose gravity when the power goes out. It's almost like an instant indicator of how far you are getting stuff back online, because you're all EVAing around the ship and all of a sudden you all just flop to the deck because the power's back on, and then the engineer tells you, like, power's coming back on. Yeah, thanks for the warning, mate. But that sort of stuff, like those indicators that things are happening, the being able to cancel emergency lights, watching, your engineering state board go from red across the board back to, some sort of amber. I mean, it's never going to go completely green, right? Because you can never repair anything to 100% by yourself. But that's really interesting. It's what you said. So someone said a little while ago, they talked about, I'm just going to cut on that, the changing out tally or galaxy model will sort of take time. That was the point that they were making about capital class components, is that if you've, I mean, let's be ridiculous, right? You want to change the power plant out on an Idris. It shouldn't just be drag on the inventory manager, and then recall, right? Because that's not how changing out major components in a capital ship works, right? You want to take the engines out of a warship in real time. That's work, right? They cut down through the deck, they lift it out vertically, they put it all back in again. And I mean, there are areas that they know where to cut, right? There are areas in the deck that are designed just for that, but still, that is not a, just swap, click the component, save and equip, recall. That. So if people want that sort of gameplay, and I'm not wedded to one or the other, but if people want that sort of gameplay, it would make sense to carry it on, that if you suddenly want to overhaul with, ripping everything out for, top of the line components, that's not going to be and then it's done, right? People are still going to backspace and reclaim their ships. You have to change insurance as well to get closer as intended. Yeah, or they massively up the reclaim timers. Right, make it more of a hassle to reclaim. That would work as well. So yeah, I hope they sell an M kit. I'm sure they will after CON42. Don't know. I think that the issue with the M kit would be what else is in it, because if it's just a railgun, it's really not a kit. They're just selling a single weapon, possibly, and apparently a whole bunch of armor. So far into the future, we can't wear armor in fighters. We'll have to change prior to boarding, kind of odd. So this seems to have changed somewhat. So you can now. So if you look at the pilot armor that you have, there is armor reduction, but it's light. Right? So there is armor that you can wear. So they seem to be now moving more towards you can't wear certain things. There'll be things like you can't wear a backpack, which makes sense, right? You can't wear like something like the Morozov backpack sat in the chair, because you'd be like, I can't see anything as you're flying, right? That's not going to work well. That sort of stuff you're going to have to put on your ship inventory and then go from there. So yeah, claim timers, yeah, absolutely. Oh, 100%, Jack. The idea that, but this is one of the interesting things that you watch with Star Citizen is that, and with game development, but Star Citizen's a great microcosm of that. It's easier for people not to have something than it is to then take it away, which is interesting with this mode of development. But, one of the things that I've seen people say is that, can you imagine the game if imagine if coupled had never existed, right? Not that they took it away. Imagine if coupled mode never existed, and when you got to the game, the first thing you had to do is fly decoupled, right? It would have been a steeper learning curve. Some people wouldn't have got involved in it. But if that's the only way that you could fly, people would have kind of gotten used to it much quicker. The danger now is you can never take decoupled off of people, because they will whinge and bitch and moan and whine, right? But, I want to kind of learn decoupled and all that sort of stuff. So that's the interesting bit. That's what I meant by insurance claim timers. Yeah, exactly that. So yes, right, let's keep going. I guess we're going to watch this whole thing then, huh? Not the whole video, don't worry, it's not that whole time bar, it's only a section of it.
A chance for players to survive the death of their ship.
Or earn themselves an Idris without owning one.
Well, given the time frame, we are almost coming to an end.
What?
Yep. And I
got another 30 minutes, let's go.
I know that a lot of you people have a lot of questions, but it might be hard to answer them all.
Thanks a lot. Speaking about informations, you started the topic some time ago, especially in Pyro or other rough territories. You encounter other player, and it's mostly it feels more safety to shoot first and ask questions later, because we lack information about the other player who's encountering us. So will there be information like a spreadsheet where we see affiliations, maybe some crime stat? I know we do see the crime stat in the color of the FF showing, but you don't see why. Maybe it wasn't just an accident, maybe it was just a parking violation or something like that. So we need more information. Will we see them more frequently, and will we able to add personal notes or personal journals about players in the future?
So those are two different topics technically. So the one bit of you getting more information is something that will be covered with the FPS scanning. So FPS scanning will give you some details on what, or will give you information, more information on what you're encountering. And that can include the faction they belong to, or a crime stat, or no, I don't. No, that's not what's. No, I will not say this. But there's something that we are internally discussing that we also want to display there. That also gives you a bit of an incentive.
Your social security number.
Yeah,
I'm just going to tell everybody.
It's Jared's all the time. And the other question is for the notes one. So Gabriel and JJ and Benoit did a panel at CitizenCon about the social changes that we want to do. And this is basically open up you can add notes, and the intent is also have those reflect on the scanning, especially if you are encountering another player.
Basically, did you have a chance to watch that social presentation from CitizenCon? Because based on your question, that's going to be one of the most important presentations you're going to want to watch. You have a lot of that stuff is there, and that's the intention about how to not just make affiliations, but how to track the affiliations, how to notate up the affiliations, how to share that information with others.
I'm not sure, Jack.
We
not sure.
absolutely envision a world where you guys are essentially self-policing. It's through your own ability to assign reputation to people and track reputation and communicate that to the other members of your orgs and whatnot to set everybody in this org is a close friend. Everybody in this org is a sort of kind of friend. Everybody in this org is Dust Cartel and like whatever. No, but we absolutely envision a world where that kind of stuff, that stuff's essential. It's essential to building the universe that we want to build. And if you haven't, even if you have, go back and rewatch that panel. It's, to my money, at last year's CitizenCon, it was the sleeper panel of the whole presentation. It's going to have a lot of that information you were looking for.
Well, one question here.
It's just not from Das Cartel. Ah.
So I have a question about vehicle ammunition reloading. How is the state of it, and when can we expect it?
No when.
A when question? That's just what I expect.
I didn't hear the when. But so right now you restock by using the landing services.
Oh, come on.
No, so
yeah, they do. Rusty,
yeah, we discussed it as well. Like I am repeating myself, and I'm very sorry for that. But the engineering gameplay is a full package, and physicalized ammunition was part of the discussion. But as already mentioned, we assessed everything that we want to deliver with engineering gameplay. The physicalized ammunition is on the list, but it is not prioritized right now. So it will take some time until we get there, but there is the huge intent with the physicalized ammunition to give you the opportunity of your, especially of the bigger ships, that you can restock in the...
We are 12 days away, 13 days away from mid-2025, right? The midpoint of the year. Or sorry, of the decade and the year. Both statements are true. There is still an awful lot of intent. Jared, when he went, so he didn't say it in this one. He said it in a previous one where he said the next year or the next year or the next year or the next year or the next year. Like, he said that 5 times. So sometimes I say to people, when people say, Badgers, what's your guess? Like, when are you going to, when would you guess that this is going to be, we're going to get 1.0? Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. There will be a 3 in it. Yeah. So it'll be, probably not the, hopefully not the first one, right? I think it'll be 2030 something, right? Before we get anywhere near it. So that's that. And I know that's going to upset some people, but excuse me, that's what it is. It's going to be 2030 something before we get there.
Field, rather than you have to go to like a landing zone and then like use the services there. What I can hint at is that you might already see like all your data miners out there that we are already preparing for that in the background. For the ammunition types that we want to release with the engineering gameplay, that is already encompassing like bullet sizes and like calibers instead of what we currently have, where we have bespoke ammunition per weapon. So now with the switch to like caliber types, it opens up the possibility to restock ammunition.
Yeah. I want to add to that there's a couple ships, you know, now like the big torpedo launcher we just launched with the Idris T torpedo launcher. In order to reload it, you have to fly back to station or whatnot and reload it through the glass. It's like this. Those are the methods that we have today at our disposal from running a live environment in the middle of our game in the middle of our game development. There isn't a person at CIG that doesn't want you to be able to stock up on all the missiles and all the torpedoes and all the bullets, all the extra power plants if you're using laser repeaters and stuff, and be able to service yourself out in the field. Ships like the Vulcan, ships like the Crucible, you know, there are whole ships.
He's about to make a fart joke, isn't he? Yeah, so Stunner says, yeah, even if the full power of this fully operational CIG dev team gets applied to Star Citizen after Squadron 42, yeah, and, you know, they gave it away right at the beginning. It's live service. You know, Squadron took as long as it did, and no one was playing it. They were able to do what they want when they wanted. Star Citizen, not so much. It's going to take a long old time. Even if, you know, even if it launches January 1st, 2026, Squadron does, 2030. I'm calling it 2030. It's no way. It's no way Star Citizen needs 1.0 before 2030. And if it does, I'll eat something interesting. Don't hold me to that. Someone's going to clip it. I know you are, you monsters. But yeah, that.
Yes. Oh no, we're over. Whoop, whoop. I was just about to reveal everything.
Hallo, hallo. Ah, da sind wir wieder.
Hello, hello. Hey, we're back.
Hello.
And yeah, that's the secret I wasn't able to tell you. No.
No.
But being able to fully
I'll
service
like one of those
your
edible
vehicle
tarantulas
out in the
or
field without having to go home for every silly little thing is something that every single person in CIG wants.
I don't want to
so
die.
whether that won't be today, and it won't be tomorrow, but if there's one of those things I feel confident in saying that this is a major desire on behalf of the ship team, the gameplay teams, the design teams, everybody. That's where we want to go. You see a bit of that with the Polaris and that whole crazy torpedo reloading stuff. It might not be that involved every time, but we desperately want to get to this point where you can go out in your ship and be out in your ship for days. You know, hopefully, if the servers stay up weeks and stuff without having to come home. If you prepare correctly and you have your Battlestar Galactica fleet with your tender ships and your refueling ships and your rearming ships, you should be able to leave your landing zone and not come back for days and days and days. And that's where I know we want to get to. I just can't say when. But
it's really weird, right? Well, it's like Hawaiian pizza, ham and pineapple. Fuck yeah, let's do it, Manny. Yeah, it's really interesting. Now, what do I wish for? Do I wish for Star Citizen to come before 2030 and eat a tarantula, or do I want it to be delayed so I don't have to? I'm gonna have to get back to you guys on that one.
Hello.
Hello.
I have a question about fire, because at the beginning of the panel you talked about fire, and my question is, are there plans to have fire outside of ships on the planetary surfaces? Because I think it would be cool to have a player-built base in danger because someone dropped a bomb from an A1 like 3 kilometers out, and yeah, that's my question.
You mean in the environment?
Yeah, so that
houses can catch fire.
Yeah, that it, like on Microtech.
You just want to burn all the forest on Microtech. That's what you
I don't
want to
say I want to do it, but I think it would be maybe.
Nope. I think it's you.
I don't have an A1, but if you want to provide me with one, I would be happy about it.
I don't want to answer that.
So, obviously, when we stated in ISC the last time we did an episode on fire, which was towards the end of last year, that for the first however many drops and whatnot, fires are going to happen exclusively on the interior of your ships. When you start getting to the exterior, it's not just a question of fire. It's a question of let's just use the forest of Microtech. It's the destruction of trees. If you asked any one of us, how cool would it be to take your C1 and go low flying and just barrel through a bunch of trees and have all those trees explode into timbers and have that path through? We'd all be like, yeah, that would be so cool. But you have, in a single player game, that would be, it wouldn't be a trivial or an easy thing, but it would be an absolutely manageable and achievable thing. In a multiplayer universe, especially when you're trying to build up, we're up to 600 players now, you're trying to get beyond that and stuff like this.
Yeah,
all of those physics events have to be duplicated and sent out to everybody else. The fire has to be sent to all those people, because you absolutely know that if we put it in tomorrow, all 600 people on a server would gather in one space and say, come on, C2, and watch it go. And they'll watch it like this. So there's all kinds of technical implications to that. It's not to say that we don't want to. We absolutely want to. We got another. You talked to Lee on the VFX team, the guy who's in charge of fire, and if we're up to him, the whole universe would burn. That guy would burn the whole universe.
I think he would have concerns, though.
Yeah, it's always just going to be a question about what's achievable at the time that we're in, the place that we're in, technology-wise, the place we're in, performance-wise. Again, there's not a person who doesn't think that's cool as hell. I just can't begin to tell you how viable that is. It would take a lot of research. It would take a lot of time on Tech Preview. It would take a lot of skunk works to figure that out. But I'm willing to bet somebody will try it at some point.
I don't.
Maybe not him.
I want to know this bit about hangars.
Hello.
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 Hangar elevators.
In the hangars, there are container elevators, but we can't really use them to retrieve any vehicle or smaller ships. Are there plans in the future, or are there or are they in the priorities right now? Are you working on it, and how far did you get?
Why are you so depressed about that? Actually, it's like.
I want it so much, Torsten.
Yeah, but...
Tell them. Go ahead. Okay, here. There are no secrets about elevators. Elevators are not a thing we have to keep secret. If you've got anything to tell these people, tell them.
Well, as Jared said, we all want it. But, so... Next patch will be cool. I don't think we will have... But
well played, Torsten. Well played. Just well played.
To also manage the expectations here. So we will not have everything.
It's an elevator. Don't hype them up for an elevator. Go ahead.
No, we will not have.
Hey, Blam.
Everything solved for that, but there will be something that will at least prove that we are on a good way.
In the chat if you want to go find it. I can link it again. You're looking at starting at the 8-hour mark on that Twitch live stream.
He is. He is. No, it's just. I will say that there's something we wanted to do back in April that required the elevator, a little bit of elevator functionality. That we couldn't quite get in April, and
it's coming soon.
Yes, and let's just say the ability to bring up small vehicles in those side elevators is, when we talk about the table, that's in those first 6 inches. I want it so bad. And the first thing it's going to deliver is so cool.
It's a PTV. That wasn't a PTV.
No, that wasn't a PTV.
What was it?
That was a big machine that goes...
Interesting. Interesting.
I'm just going to compose my apology to Chris Roberts now.
I think he liked the charade.
I feel bad when they ask these good questions, and it's like we can't answer that because it's too far out or something like that. So I got to give them something every once in a while.
Okay,
I think we are.
You can be happy that Jared is there. If it would be just me, you would get very
We got
little.
one more question about talks. Let's get that out of the way, and then we'll have a chat about it.
What else? Who's next?
I have a question about the new mining bags of the Golem. Are we seeing changes in the design of the Expanse or the Galaxy module that they support boost?
Would make sense, right?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad you asked that because that's one of the questions that's so far out that we don't have an answer for. That goes back to the other question. That's not something that's going to happen in the next 6, 9, 12 months. So anything that we think right now is too open to having a better idea as it gets closer. But yes.
I think it totally makes sense.
Yes, it's one of those things I'm often quoted as saying, we're having all the same conversations you're having just 4 weeks earlier.
An actual Titan suit.
And sometimes less upset, sometimes. But yeah, it makes sense. It just makes sense. I couldn't tell you how or where or when, but yeah, it makes sense.
Not that abomination that's in Wickelos, because that thing is an abomination. It's an abomination, and no one's going to convince me otherwise.
Well, we have to wrap it up. It is the last question for today.
Boo.
Hi.
The good one. Not you. You're wonderful.
I know there's a lot of pressure on you.
That guy.
Now that the Idris T is released, can you hint us a bit more about the future of torpedo gameplay? Because we have very confusing information. On the one hand, you're talking about the massive destructive potential of torpedoes and therefore the high cost of torpedoes. And on the other hand, you tell us that torpedoes are more meant like a finisher weapon, so you first strip down the fighter defense, then you strip down the PDCs as turrets, and then you either board or use a torpedo to destroy the ship. So that's a very specific situation where you wouldn't expect this high cost for torpedoes.
Yeah, I'm gonna preface this by saying that neither one of us are on the vehicle experience team or involved in the balancing of that stuff, so we're gonna have limited information to provide you for that. But one of the difficult things that comes with running a live environment in the middle of your development is this constant battle of, do you build for tomorrow or do you build for today? And some things you just have to build for today. Unique item recovery, which came online in April, was one of those things where it's like, if we were building for tomorrow, that's not how we would build it. But we need something today. People are too afraid to wear their cool things. They buy these cool things, they earn these cool armors, and they're just too afraid to build it. So we chose to build something to use today. And in the future, there are other systems. Crafting will come online. There'll be other ways to do that. With torpedoes, and this is where I want to be real careful because I'm speaking way outside of an area that I have any expertise in. It's a lot of what you just said is the build for tomorrow kind of thing. It's how it's supposed to work when the full armor system comes online, when the full Maelstrom system comes online, when the full scanning package comes online. You're able to do subsystem targeting much easier and stuff like that. But that's not where we're at right now. We chose to put the Idris out right now. We chose to put the Polaris out last year, and torpedoes have to have some kind of function today. So this is my really long-winded way of saying I don't know. And it doesn't surprise me that they're in this kind of weird middle place where some parts of it have to be designed for tomorrow and some parts of it have to be designed for today. And it's one of those things that I can just tell you that our vehicle experience team, Rich Towler and all those folks in there, they're wonderful people, they're committed people, and they'll see what you're saying, they'll see what everybody is saying about them, and as new features come online, new tech comes online, they'll continue to adjust them, continue to add to the experience, and it will change. The only thing I can guarantee you is that what's there today is not what will be there tomorrow. It's the only thing I can guarantee.
So yeah, an interesting bit of information from CON42, which is the German kind of Star Citizen con thing. So that's kind of cool. Yeah, just to recap then for those that come at the end, because I noticed we've just had a jump in viewers. So welcome to everyone that's just come in. Just to recap what's said, June patch will be quote unquote awesome. Engineering will come along with fire tech. There'll be a new type of door scanner which denies entry if you're not wearing the proper clothing, i.e. if you don't look like a Ninetales, you won't get in. They're working on refinery gameplay with updates to Station Refinery. There'll be a door hacking breaching mechanic with engineering at some point. Fire venting will happen as part of engineering gameplay, i.e. the engineers will be able to open the doors, but that might not be initially. Bullet penetration is being worked on for ballistics. Life support will be coming later down the line. Engineering will come to tech preview, just like 4.0 came to tech preview at the beginning of the year or at the end of last year. Excuse me. They're doing a full rebalance of items. FPS scanning will arrive into tech preview before it gets implemented fully. PDCs hitting party members as a bug. Ship armor is part of the first engineering gameplay, so basically it'll be a mitigation system where the amount of armor you have remaining represents the integrity of the armor as a whole, rather than anything specific to locations. Ship death will be more based around soft death and being able to repair the insides. So if people want to shut that down, they need to board and they need to neutralize the crew. Fire at the moment is planned for the interior of ships, not the exterior of locations. Hangar elevators for smaller vehicles and ships are working on. They said something about June being awesome, and current behavior of torps is not the way they want to implement it across the board. It's just implemented for the systems as they are at the moment. So a really interesting info dump, lots there to come away with, and proof again that that they're moving in the right direction. So there was no mention of the Atlas, whatever that monstrosity is in Wicklow. All he said was he mimicked a mech moving around and shooting. So it might be that. I'm hoping that it's something a little bit closer to the Titan suit art that we got, because something a little bit more enclosed, a little bit more combat focused, will look a whole lot better, will sell a whole lot better, and will just make combat a lot more fun for all of us, I think. To put it on what is basically the Alien Power Loaders chassis, I'm not living it. I'm not loving it. Okay, so yeah, there's that. As we've said before, link to the Discord down in the description below. And if you guys want to be around for tomorrow, I'll be about 15 minutes before the website changes over, before we go into tomorrow's MISC and everything else that's coming, the Mirai and all that sort of stuff. I will be live streaming it here on DGP. It would be great to have you. We'll talk about it. We'll look at the CCUs. We'll look at whatever is coming. The Guardian MX being rumoured and all that sort of stuff. So it'll be great to have you here and be able to talk about all that stuff. Let's see what happens. Thank you very much for being here this evening, guys. It's been, I said it was going to be a short one. It's actually ended up being longer than normal. But we needed to get through that. That was information that we haven't seen released properly. There's been videos on it, but it's been great to be talking to you all about it and going through what's happening in Star Citizen. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.
Because